Welcome to Teachers Talking Teaching, where we celebrate and elevate the art of teaching.
Hi, we're back with Teachers Talking Teaching this week, and we have with us Lisa Plank, who is a social science high school teacher, teaches government and history, so we're anxious to learn from you today, Lisa, about first of all, your origin story. How'd you get into teaching, and what led you to high school?
Yeah. I think deep down I always knew that I would be some kind of teacher or educator. I just kind of fell naturally into those roles of, leadership as a kid. And, I'm older sibling, so I'm used to telling people what to do. But no, anytime there was an opportunity for like volunteering or part-time job, I was always drawn to working with kids who were younger than me, as a preteen or adolescent. And then worked in summer camps. And so as I was just drawn to that environment, I actually have memories of, I had a lot of fantastic teachers. So, of course, that's with a lot of teachers, is that we've all had one or more of fantastic people. And I remember my third grade teacher, Mrs. Jessen, I kept a little notebook of the things that I liked that she did. Oh my gosh. So it was and I wish I had it. I don't know what's happened to it, but I have this memory of, I don't know what my, third grade self was going to do with that, but I just remember writing down all the stuff that I liked about her class. So, and I think, deep down I always knew, but I was kind of in denial when I was, off into the college apps and all of that, and was thinking, business, sports marketing. I was into athletics and everything. And I remember my dad saying, what you really need to do, what you should do, because I was looking at CSU, and I was in Oregon in high school, and he's like, a small liberal arts school focusing on education program, I think would really be it for you. No, Dad. This is what I want to do. I want to go to a big state school out of state, and so it was kind of it was always there, but it just took me a while to really acknowledge and accept that that's really what my path was meant to be. Jobs and volunteering was always in education-related stuff. And I majored in social science at CSU with minors in history and anthropology. And again, what do you do with that?
Right.
I still wasn't grasping I'm going to be a social studies teacher. And social studies had always been my favorite subject. That was just, and again, fantastic teachers. Mr. Pastorino in 7th grade, Mr. Clark in 8th grade. So a lot of great teachers. And then after CSU, I went to the Peace Corps. And so, and backing up a little bit, sorry, I was born and raised in Saudi Arabia. And so and we moved to the States when I was 15. And so that first part of my life was, a lot of exposure to a lot of different people and places and cultures, and a lot of travel. And then cut to after college, and I wanted to live overseas again for an extended period of time. And I'd grown up with a lot of my parents' friends, having been in the Peace Corps, so it was something I'd always heard about and seemed like the right fit for me after college, and it was. And I went to the Federated States of Micronesia in the Pacific, and I was in the youth and community sector. That was my, the sector that I was assigned to. So that was a whole mishmash of different kind of jobs and projects and experiences, but ultimately I fell into teaching 7th and 8th grade ESL, basically English language. And again, a lot of other variety of projects. I did a girls' summer camp, and this is with other Peace Corps volunteers too. Organized youth sports competitions, so just, getting all kinds of exposure and experience in that. And then realized, okay, I really want to be a teacher. And again, social studies had always been my favorite. And, the age group, it was more that I was drawn to the subject, and I knew what I wanted to do with the subject, and high school was the vehicle to get me there. The kind of subjects I wanted to teach, and the kind of conversations I knew I wanted to have, and the kind of impact led me, to choose high school. So I applied when I was still abroad. I applied to grad school in Portland because I didn't have any education certificate or anything. So I was able to do a master's certificate program at Lewis and Clark College in Portland. And that was really intense. It was a 14-month, super intensive education, student teaching experience. And so, then I'm set technically, and I'm so passionate, and all I want is to have my own social studies classroom, be a teacher, had great, professors, and it was a social justice oriented program. And so, I was ready. And then it was the recession. So it was the summer of 2009. And I could not get a job in Portland. I had multiple jobs, subbing, after school programs, at-risk youth. And I think that was about 2 or so school years. And I decided to cast my net a little bit further and to come back to Colorado. Since I had been in Fort Collins for school and I still had friends, and so sure enough, I, applied to a million jobs and got a call from Ouray School, down super far away. And I said, yes, I'd love to have the interview. And then I had to Google where Ouray was. So I was like, absolutely.
Beautiful spot.
Yes, absolutely beautiful. And, small town. So it was the high school is like 60 or so kids.
And so you are
the
only
social studies teacher. And
Yeah.
so I got my wish of being, a classroom social studies teacher. And I had 6 preps, including AP US history as a baby teacher. And so those first 3 years were really intense. But, definitely earned my stripes and got to teach a variety of subjects. I just worked and skied. I mean, I worked like 6 days a week and skied on Sundays, and great community there. It was a fantastic experience. I just knew that the small town, as a young single female, and the kind of education environment I wanted to be in, that Ouray wasn't going to be it for me. And so I committed to 3. I said I need to be here for at least 3 years and get my feet and build a resume, and I did that, and then an opening opened up at Fossil Ridge, and so it all just worked out. Mark Berry, who's an assistant principal there, I think at the time he was a dean. He had just come out of the classroom, and he was Peace Corps, and so he saw,
We interviewed his wife.
Yes, they were Peace Corps Solomon Islands, and so the stars aligned, and he picked me out of that pile, and I had a phone interview again. I got hired over the phone again, and then went to visit Fossil to see, and so it was, so much hard work and so much preparation, and I got my dream job pretty much, and able to come back to Fort Collins. And so, so I guess back to your original question, a mixture of, really impactful experiences growing up overseas, a family who is, education is important. My mom was a teacher, and being surrounded by people who also wanted to live abroad and I just wanted to have as many experiences as I could in my 20s. And I felt like that was all going to add to ultimately what I would be able... I mean, it wasn't part of like a perfect plan. I'm going to have experiences, so I have things to offer in the classroom. But it all, in hindsight, it all worked out that way, of having as many experiences as I could, meeting all kinds of people, living in a lot of different situations. And then just loving social studies. I mean, it's cheesy, but the world and everything there is to know about it, and the past, and it's something I have just always been interested in since I was a kid. So, and so here I am.
Were there things from your experience growing up in the Saudi Arabia school system that are different, the things that you were able to bring to your experience
I mean,
here?
I grew up in my dad worked for a giant oil company that it's like one of the largest oil companies in the world. And so I grew up in a large, compound. It was basically a small city, international, but it was American-based curriculum. And so it was pretty similar to what a kid in the United States would experience. But it being an oil company situation, there was plenty of resources in all the ways. Teachers were treated super well there, made more than a livable wage. And so we had everything that you would want as a student, and I suppose as an educator. And so that was it was like growing up Pleasantville, kind of. That's why, everyone's parents had a job, no one's parents were divorced, the schools were great. And so moving to the States at 15, I moved to Corvallis, Oregon. We moved there, and similar to Fort Collins, actually, college town and good school system. But I understood, I came to learn quickly, like, what public education could mean in the States. And we had plenty of resources there, but it was definitely a different experience. And understanding, that there's a variety of experiences that you can have based on where you live in this country. And so that was eye-opening. If anything, it was, moving to the States and being in regular old public school was definitely different. And so I would say the transition of understanding what I had, and to, again, depending on your family circumstances, your geography, that one's experiences can be really different.
So when I think about, like, all of the opportunities that maybe you might have gone a different path that wasn't public education. So why public education?
That's a great question, because I grew up in, what could be considered basically private education. I mean, there was no high school in Saudi Arabia for expat kids, and so everyone went off to boarding school. So it was a very, privileged community, and that, private education would have been probably the path for most students through university. I'm really glad that my parents made the choice that we did leave. They didn't send me to boarding school, and my sisters and I. I believe in public education. Based on, again, the variety of experiences that I've had of coming from, a middle-class family, and then having experiences in Peace Corps, living in a developing country. Because Saudi Arabia, there's parts of it that can be considered a developing country, but it is, people don't want for much there. So growing up, growing up there, then traveling to a developing country and experiencing that whole eye-opening experience, then coming back to Portland, working inner city, and again, within Portland, a variety of communities. I just knew that, or I came to learn that, public education, I believe in it. I believe that it benefits a community, and a community can benefit it, and that, there's different opinions out there about charter schools and choice, but ultimately I believe investing in my community, and that if, in my perfect world, everyone would invest in their neighborhood school and their community schools. And so I guess just over time, I've come to learn that, I believe in public education and what it can do for kids. And there's a lot of ways that I wish it could change for kids and educators. But having been exposed to, the private and privileged kind of world, that just wasn't going to be the path for me. That there was people, kids, communities that I felt like I had something to bring to the table.
So your variety of experiences have also meant you've also got to teach a variety of classes.
Do you
have a favorite within there?
I do.
Things you're teaching now that you've sort of settled into as my perfect world.
Again, my perfect world that, I would like to be a team player in my department, and, if something is asked of me, initially I was willing to teach whatever, to be at Fossil and to, again, be a team player in my department. And after 9 years, I have worked into, my niche, I guess, that I'm really happy in, and I hope that I can continue to stay there. Being co-department chair means that I can hopefully continue to stay there, like in those classes. But yes, U.S. history, again, I had really great teachers of U.S. history, and I've always been just obsessed with the past and stories, and just have always wanted to know more. Then I had an amazing professor of African American history at CSU, Blaine Harding, and he opened my eyes to history that had never been taught to me before. And I was sophomore, junior in college. And I just remember having this feeling of what? Like, there's more to the story, And so I was super inspired to teach some of that, whether you call it hidden history or other perspectives, whatever. I was super inspired to teach that. So U.S. history is kind of my first love and will always be there. I've had the most time to work on that class and perfect that class. And then I was asked to teach AP government. We had a teacher leave the department a few years ago. And government, I mean, believe it or not, I got out of a social science degree at CSU without, I think, taking any political science, because I just remember being intimidated by it, and I don't remember my high school government class really, and so it was just kind of the thing that it was like government and economics, like I don't know, and I was asked to take on AP Gov, and it was the fall of 2016, so that was a big year to be teaching political science, and I took it on because, again, wanted to do whatever I could for my department, and I'm so glad that I did, because I would say AP Gov is probably my favorite. I mean, if I had to, that would be the last one that I would want to give up. I'll just say that. So I do love that, and I've gotten to teach it many times, since 2016. And then last school year, I created a brand new class for fossil Native American humanities. And so it had been a lifelong dream to teach a Native American focused class, Indigenous studies focused class. And we were looking, within the building and in the district, social studies were often in competition for students with other departments, because, say, like a humanities credit can be earned in a few other departments. Right. And so, and with, the numbers changing with the new school opening, my co-department chair and we've needed to get creative in the last couple of years about how to keep social studies strong at Fossil. And so we saw an opportunity with a new humanities class. And so he and I wrote the syllabus for Native American and got it approved by the district. And it was actually better than just having a history focused class, because with humanities, there's so many more opportunities for literature and art, geography, history. So, so that I've taken on, and that has been like taking me back to baby teacher days of blank slate, and you got kids coming in a month, and what are you gonna teach? So
what am I gonna do tomorrow?
Exactly. Like stay a day ahead kind of thing. And so right now, this fourth quarter of this school year will be the fourth time I've taught it. So I've just started teaching it 2 weeks ago again. And so that has really kept me on my toes again, of kind of reinvigorated me of being kind of like a healthy fear, I would say, of my job, and not getting complacent and too comfortable. But I've got the 9 years behind me that I've, as opposed to when you're really a baby teacher, you have no idea what you're doing. And so I'm really thankful to have been given the opportunity to teach that new class and to bring something like that to Fossil. And there's been a really good response to it. So so U.S. history, AP government, and I teach standard government too, if the schedule needs me to. And then this new Native American. So those are my jams.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
We are really looking forward to hearing more about some of the other things that you're focusing on and learning about that keep you excited about coming to work every day and working with high school students. We thank you very much for sharing your origin story.
Yeah.
I appreciate you being with us today.
Yeah. Thanks for asking those questions. It's cool to talk about and to kind of reflect on. And
If you liked what you heard today, go to our Facebook page and like and subscribe. You can also go to YouTube and join our YouTube channel, as well as listen to us on your favorite podcasting app.